4.5 years ago, I set out to answer a simple question. Could Anubias actually be grown for profit at home? After countless failures, dead rhizomes, and slow growth, here's what finally happened. I'd like to take you back to 2021, in the middle of the pandemic, when we were all binge watching YouTube and Netflix. During that time, I was watching a YouTuber who was attempting to grow and sell Anubias nana for profit. That video quietly reignited a dream I didn't even realize was still there. I had attempted to grow Anubias for profit back in the mid 2010s, and I had successfully failed. However, that was before I learned that Anubias could be grown immersed. That realization kickstarted my journey into Anubias propagation, initially as a hobby, but with the potential for profit. After picking up some Anubias nana from a private seller, I stumbled upon a mother lode of Anubias Barteri. I drove about 30 to 40 minutes to pick them up for around $125. I purchased a 10 and 25-gallon aquarium, various equipment, and all of the plants. By parting out most of the equipment, I was able to recover much of the cost, meaning the plants were essentially free. Turning back to the plants themselves, as you can see, they were not in good shape. On top of that, they were infested with blackbeard algae. But as ugly as they looked, they were perfect for my project. After bringing them home, I immediately started to count the Anubias. I ended up with 40 Anubias barteri. The big question was, how could I make them grow as fast as possible? My goal was to sell them for profit. That question marked the beginning of my journey to figure out how to best propagate these plants at home, and whether I could at least cover some of my aquarium hobby expenses or maybe earn a bit of pocket change for other fun aquarium purchases. Just days after purchasing the plants, I started my first experiment. Could Anubias be propagated through rhizome division? I took one long rhizome and cut it into 6 pieces. 3 were placed in a tote with water using fluorite as the substrate, while the remaining 3 were placed in water with hydrogen as their substrate. Unfortunately, the experiment failed miserably. All of the rhizomes melted within a short period of time. Since then, I haven't pursued any further experiments with rhizome division in a submersed environment. That small experiment alone was enough to show me, at least anecdotally, that propagating Anubias through rhizome division underwater likely comes with a very low survival rate. Meanwhile, after thoroughly cleaning the plants and giving them a proper trim, I planted half of the remaining Anubias in an 80-liter tote using soil for immersed growth. The other half were planted using hydrogen and water. My plan was simple: provide 8 to 10 hours of light per day and apply a foliar spray every other day. About 6 months later, here was the update. As you can see, the plants grown in hydrogen did not look good at all. Many leaves had melted and others showed clear signs of significant malnutrition. Looking back, this was likely due to my very limited use of fertilizer at that time. In contrast, the plants grown in soil had established nicely and were clearly healthier. On January 1st, 2022, I decided to abandon hydrogen and switch those plants to soil. Hydrogen had proved to be my second major failure in my pursuit of Anubias propagation for profit. Fast forward to April 14, 2022. Here's an update on both batches grown in soil. The original soil grown batch hadn't changed much. I suspect this was due to depleted nutrients in the soil. And by that point, the 80-liter tote was likely too small to support the overall plant mass. Meanwhile, the batch that had been moved from hydrogen to soil didn't fare much better than it had before the transplant. I left both batches in their totes to continue growing. 1 month later, I attempted my first propagation method that had already shown some success with my Anubias nana. I unearthed the plants and trimmed off all the growing tips. These tips were replanted, and a few days later, I cut the remaining rhizomes into small sections and planted them next to their parents. From May 29th to December 1st, 2022, this is how the rhizomes developed. This was a promising start to my propagation project. However, it was an extremely slow process. I had started this journey in July 2021, and by the end of December 2022, 1.5 years later, I didn't have much to show for it. So what happened to my Anubias Barteri? And did this journey towards Anubias propagation for profit finally pay off? You'll find out in my 2023-2024 update. Until then, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the video so you won't miss what comes next.